The chair recognizes the Honorable Leslie Love.
Wow. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Distinguished members, I'd like to share with you what it's meant to me to serve in this magical, manic production called the Michigan House of Representatives, the legislature. So, in the words of Hova, AKA Jay-Z, AKA Sean Carter, AKA Beyonce's husband, allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Leslie Love. I am the daughter of Norman and Frances Gladden and a child of God. The youngest of 4 siblings, Norman Jr., Marcia, and Bethany. I'm the auntie of 8 nephews, Jerome, James, Brian, Jerron, Brandon, Matthew, Norman, and Gabe, and 4 nieces, Cassandra, Alicia, Brittany, and Elizabeth. I am the great aunt of 9, the godmother of Amaya and Justin, the mother of 2 beautiful boys, Chaco Obama Love and Robusto Baracco Love, my beloved dogs. And I am a Black woman, born and raised in Detroit, graduated from Burns Elementary, Cadillac Middle School, and COOLEY, Cooley High. I went on to graduate with honors from Wayne State University, Mary Grove College, and Siena Heights University. I am that little Black girl who attended the historic Second Baptist Church Nursery School in downtown Detroit, while my mom worked down the street at Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and my father, a veteran, worked as a heavy machine operator for the City of Romulus Water Department. I am that girl they teased and called chicken legs, that grew up on Coyle, played video games at the arcade on Grand River, bought records and Michael Jackson posters from Wonder Love Music, raced go-karts made from old milk crates and found wood. That girl who was too afraid to get in a swimmobile, but climbed trees and jumped off garage roofs onto a discarded mattress or a pile of leaves. I'm the high school girl that made her own Gucci gym shoes. I did that. From plain white leather sneakers purchased from SS Kresge's on Greenfield and Grand River. And 3 days later, when the kids at school noticed my fake Gucci's in the cafeteria, oh, they laughed so hard and teased me horribly. I wore them for another week to prove a point. I am a genius, a pioneer ahead of my time. See, I'd saved $125 of my allowance, so I was doing something. Today, knockoffs are normal. What I instinctively knew was no one was going to shame me for my creativity, my independence, and what I thought philosophically made better sense. I guess I knew from a very early age that my existence, my individuality, my beliefs, and my feelings do not require nor request your approval or permission, because in the words of house music, God made me funky like that. I am the young lady who was the president of the Black Student Union at college. It was the Siena Heights African American Knowledge Association, known as SHACA. I successfully led a protest sit-in demanding the college diversify its faculty and staff. 3 African American women were hired as a result. I'm the young lady who wrote and produced her own plays when I learned my college did not believe in non-traditional casting. Siena Heights College in Adrian, Michigan was challenging on many levels, yet it was a transformational experience that enriched me and cast me in what I see now as a very self-aware, self-determined, compassionate, wise, worldly woman who strives to be competent, purposeful, and ethical, and to respect the dignity of all. To my Adrian Dominican sisters, Idali Feliciano, Doug Miller, the faculty and staff and housekeeping crew at Siena, I say thank you for an outstanding liberal arts education. And to my colleagues and students and the Sisters Immaculate Heart of Mary at Marygrove College, and especially to Dr. Glenda Price, my Dean Rose DeSluver, and Vince Abbott-Marco, thank you Before coming to the legislature, I had 13 marvelous years at Marygrove College on both the faculty and the staff. I am also the woman who packed up my Ford Probe and drove out to California with my best friend Raquel, seeking to become a movie star, only to return home 3 years later with a few Hollywood credits, a love for stand-up comedy, and lots of stories. And like Dorothy in The Wiz, when I came home, my heart's desires came to pass. I toured internationally doing stand-up comedy. I toured with Cedric the Entertainer and appeared on BET's Comic View. I performed in and wrote plays, was cast in numerous industrials, voiceovers, and a few commercials. And in June 2014, the year I ran and won this seat, I was cast as the mayor of Metropolis in the Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice movie. Oh, honey, I thought I'd made it. Ooh, I had my own honey wagon. I had my own chair under the tent with director Zack Snyder, my own personal handlers that fussed over my hair and makeup and put slippers on my feet when I came off set. I ate with the stars like Lawrence Fishburne, and Amy Adams, and Gal Gadot, and Henry Cavill. Honey, I had made it. Then the movie came out. And in a packed AMC theater with all my friends and family, we watched the movie to the end, only to learn my big part was cut out. Oh, my part was cut. But there was Senator Randy Richardville, Jim Kearse, and U.S. Senator Debbie Stabenow. The credits actually read, Debbie Stabenow, governor of Metropolis. Who knew? Apparently, Metropolis is a district state like Washington, D.C. Anyway, I thought my scenes were much, much more important. After all, I gave a rousing mayoral speech and unveiled the statue of Superman after rebuilding Metropolis from a complete destruction. Oh, well, it wouldn't be the first time I get undercut. After that experience, I knew the real actors must be in Lansing and in Washington, D.C. So even though my part was cut out the movie, winning my election that year meant I would be on an even larger stage with bigger divas and bad actors. Only this time, my part would not be cut, and I'd play a major role in sponsoring and co-sponsoring or negotiating landmark legislation, including the reconstruction of DPSCD, auto insurance reform, juvenile justice reform, election reform, and COVID-19 preparedness in nursing homes. See, since I was a child, I've dreamt of becoming a movie star. But I guess God saw fit to use my talents to be one of the stars, one of 148 stars, on one of the biggest productions of my life, the Michigan Legislature. And I am so fortunate to have worked with this wonky, oftentimes infuriating and occasionally delightful cast of characters that have performed in this chamber. Still today, when I walk up Michigan Ave and see our beautiful Capitol, I feel like Dorothy going to see the wizard. I am still in awe of its majesty. When I walk the halls, sit in the appropriations room, eat in the speaker's library, or press the button at my desk, I pinch myself because this black girl from Coyle Street in Detroit, with a heart as big as her head, gets to work here. I feel so blessed and privileged for this experience. As a black woman in this world, occupying this space, it matters that little black and brown girls see women like me and Padma Cooper in this place. It matters that our voices are heard in these hallowed halls and our legislation gets passed, whether it's crown bills by Rep. Anthony or Rep. Brenda Carter's maternal mortality legislation. It's time for the issues affecting black and brown women in our communities to take center stage. From housing to health disparities, and from respect in the workplace to water security, including and incorporating us in the process and the decision-making is paramount to the evolution of American culture. This became evident to me when a little girl from Fisher Elementary School met me during her school visit to the Capitol. She was so excited to see me. She was pointing and jumping up and down, and I kept looking around for Rep. Jones because he's the only one I know that gets that kind of fan reaction, you know. But She was pointing to me. She wanted a picture with me. "Are you really Miss Love?" she asked as she hugged me. "Yes, it's really me. I'm your state representative," I whispered as I hugged her tighter to make sure I wasn't dreaming. That interaction motivated me to read to every third grader in my district during March's Reading Month and to start civic engagement sessions in my district's high school. I wanted little girls like me from Coyle Street in Detroit to know the possibilities in all areas, from astronaut like Mae Jemison to zoologists like Mrs. Roger Arlen Young, and even vice president like Kamala Harris. The 100th legislature is historical in terms of Black women in the legislature. There are 54 women elected and serving, with 43 in the House and 11 in the Senate. Of those women, 13 are African American, and all of them are Democrat, with 10 in the House and 3 in the Senate. In the history of Michigan's legislature, there have only been 36 Black women total who have served. Now, with 13 members, this term has the largest number of Black women serving in Michigan's history. It means a lot to me, my family, and my community that I have been a good and faithful servant to the people and a change agent in the legislature. To be able to say I'm a lawmaker 8 times over while serving in the minority is a pretty big deal. To have passed meaningful legislation around sexual assault, juvenile justice reform, banking reform, auto insurance reform, and the mitigation of COVID, to name a few, is astonishing. To have been able to secure and deliver nearly $1 million to my district is dope. To sit on both Policy and Appropriations Committee and hold chairmanships is powerful. To receive special appointments by both Governors Whitmer and Snyder is distinguishing. To serve as the Dem Caucus Vice Chair, the first Vice Chair and Treasurer of the Progressive Women's Caucus, the Executive Vice Chair and second Vice Chair and Chaplain with the Michigan Legislative Black Caucus is phenomenal. Hey, to be a third termer who gets to see herself get termed out is pretty groovy. And not everyone is so fortunate to make that journey to your final term. And now that I'm actually good at my job, term limits are kicking me out. But I'm not sad, and I have no regrets. I'm ready to go. I've had a thorough legislative experience, from standing on the top of the Mackinac Bridge to touring the cavernous Detroit salt mines, and from visiting the Sioux Locks to an MSP helicopter ride over Detroit, and from bear hunting with the Huffs near Gaylord, and duck hunting with Rep. Cherry and Nawaking Queen, I'm gonna get it right, Point, to salmon fishing in Lake Michigan with Senator Vanderwall. Honey, I have done it all. Speaking of hunting and fishing, serving as co-chair of the Legislative Sportsmen's Caucus with Tristan Cole is one of the best experiences I've had. It's afforded me the opportunity to try new things and have a lot of fun and learn a great deal about hunting and fishing and the contributions sportsmen and women make towards conservation efforts across our state, but especially in southeastern Michigan. In addition to preserving and protecting everything from wildlife to wetlands, sportsmen and women generate over $11.2 billion annually, and $3.7 billion of that generated in southeastern Michigan. Tristan, it has been such a joy to co-chair with you. You the bomb.com. Love you, brother. So with that, I'd like to thank the Academy for this unique opportunity. What an honor and a privilege it's been to serve. I want to thank you to my parents, my grandmother, family and friends for raising me in a loving and encouraging environment. And thank you, Michigan. Remember always to work with purpose, lead with character, and decide with value. So in closing, I wanted to do it in true Tony Award-winning fashion. I'd like to give my thank yous to my Personal close friends, Jim Latisse, Thomas Gilbert, Terrence German, Raquel, Brad, Tika, Cheryl, Alfred, my soror Angela Bullock, Rick Blocker, my golf coach, and my beloved sorors of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. Thank you. To the people, the residents of District 10, Redford Township, and Northwest Detroit, 2 dynamic municipalities, thank you. Without you, I really wouldn't be here. Your love, laughter, criticism, kindness, your vote, especially your vote, has sustained me and made me a better legislator. Thank you, and I love you. To the love bugs, the diverse crew, including my childhood, college, and neighborhood friends, and my dynamic office team, thank you for gracing me with your brilliance and sharing your talents to make Michigan a better place and me a better person. Special shout out to all the campaign volunteers and community leaders, especially Ariel Edwards, the only person who's ever been attacked by a dog in the 7 campaigns I've held, and she continued to want to come out with me. So I'm very thankful that you were safe. Thank you. Special shout out to Jasmine Tompkins. You all know her as the governor's legislative liaison to us, whose brilliance is only matched by her bravery. From jumping out of a plane with me to plunging into polar cold waters as Ninja Turtles, you are fierce, and I love you for your tenacity and humility. Please thank Kennedy for sharing her mom with us, as we were putting in long hours back in those days. You are more than a colleague. I consider you a friend and one of the most brilliant women in Lansing. Special shout out to the Kevins in my office, Kevin Harris and Kevin Shropshire. You guys are the best. Thank you for your unwavering loyalty and excellent work ethic. And even though you weren't good with fashion advice, you were beyond outstanding wingmen. And Shropshire, you have learned more about black slang and black women isms than any white man who's not married to a black woman should know. But you've hung in there with me like a super trooper, and I thank you. And to my beloved Kevin Harris, there's not enough time for me to thank you, but you have been my day one in politics and in campaigning and in life. We have been on some journeys together. We've almost died, we've cried, we've rolled up on some folks, we fed the needy and kept each other's trust. And when I had to make the horrible decision to move my mom out of our family home, you were there to help me. Nothing but love for you, my brother, my friend forever. Thank you. To the cast and crew, the legislators, policy team, and Capitol staff, to the Daves over there in that box, the operators in the back. I really didn't know what the heck you did until that fateful night in 2015. But you do important work making sure that our vote is counted and recorded. Thank you for all you do behind the scenes. And to Dan, Mike, Julian, and Tom, who run the cameras in the back. Thank you for nailing my close-ups and my scene-stealing air kisses to Rep. Sneller. To the Supremes, Stephanie, Paris, Marcy, and Cheryl, AKA the Journal Clerks, and the Backstreet Boys, Dan, Eric, Kevin, and Derek, AKA the Bill Clerks. I call you the Supremes because you always, when I leave out and I say good night, you always, in unison, perfect harmony, say good night. It's together so nicely. And I call you guys the Backstreet Boys because when I hand in my resolutions, I want it that way, but you always change it and I have to do something different. Thank you, Clerks Brown and Randall. Clerk Randall, I want you to know the sapling jade you gave me my freshman year, which I named Randall, is alive. It's alive and thriving, and has sprouted a second jade that I've named Darlene. To all the sergeants, especially Chief Sergeant Nixon and Deputy Chief Fawn, thank you. Chief Dixon, I will not forget our special bond and the time you drugged that man from his neck and his belt, and he was barely touching the floor out of this chamber when I don't know how he got on the floor, but you did that. And how you chased me when I was trying to speak on DPSCD and you wouldn't let me get to the mic, and you made me try to sit down, but I remember that. But I thank you. You do your job too well. Alice, I'm eternally grateful for your kindness, spiritual guidance, and talks. You're such a fun and funny lady. I really appreciated getting to know you. My awesome seatmates, Marsha Hovey Wright, Erica Geis, and Kyra Hope. Marsha is a vivacious woman who talks a lot, and she's the founder of the Progressive Women's Caucus, but I learned a lot because she talked a lot. And to Rep Hope, who is the Zen vegetarian, who is as cool as a coronavirus vaccine shipment. You're just a pleasure to sit next to you. And Erica is my legislative bestie. She's a dame like me. She smokes cigars, drinks dark liquor, and cusses like a sailor. She's a great partner to get in good trouble with. Our friendship was forged over trying times, and our bond has remained. We have had some great times, and I'm sure there will be other ceilings we'll not only break, but walk on. Wink, wink. To Asia and Liz and communications and all the DEM policy team, especially Dan, Peter, Mayo, Andy, Cynthia, Paul, and Kofi Ann, thank you. And if you don't know, Kofi Ann Hawthorne is institutional knowledge. She is the lighthouse of legislation, the mistress of amendments, the Wakanda Dora Malaji of policy. This woman is the best to have ever done it. A consummate professional, an honorable woman who I deeply cherish and respect. Thank you, Kofi Ann, for always keeping members first, keeping us honest and keeping us from falling. Thank you. And I cherish the memory of my deceased colleagues, Julie Pilecki, John Keevala, Isaac Robinson, and Pete Battaglia. I'll cherish the memory of Joe Tate doing the polar plunge with me, and your not bothered, non-confrontational demeanor. I hope when I grow up, I get to be as gracious and unaffected by annoying people as you are. Cara Clemente, we just vibe. I love you, I adore you, and I'll miss sitting on committee with you. I'll always treasure the memory of duck hunting with you, John Cherry, and I still get teased by my friends for being a black girl going into the woods with some white guys with long guns, so. They still reviewing my black card. For golfing with Frank Liberati and John Chirkin, the first time we golfed, I was so nervous because I thought I was gonna be the worst player, but nope, that would be John. And John, I love you, and I love your wife, Sharon. I love when we are at conferences or whatever, and she's there. She's a good wing woman to hang out with. She's the best. And Rep Ellison, your wife, Jody, you and Jody are great too. I love you guys, and thank you. Y'all really lucked up. I will appreciate having dinner that time with the appropriations team. And Julie and John kept arguing with Sue, and I kept trying to change the conversation about honey or something, and they would not stop. Then Angela Whitmore showed up with her friend, and they had an extra ticket to see Hamilton. And I bailed on that dinner faster than a duck could drop a turd, baby. I was out the door and at Hamilton, you know, in the room where it happened, so having a good time. I'll remember our first Black Girl Magic Gathering and the steadfast support and enthusiasm of Rep. Sarah Anthony and Kyra Bolton. You ladies are a class act, hashtag keep it classy. To Sheldon Neely, thank you, brother, for your leadership on MLBC and to being a confident and a good friend during this legislative experience. Floor Leader Yusuf Rabi and Jelani, you have such a good spirit and awesome energy. I love you too. Rep Moss and Wittenberg, I love you guys. Donna Lazinski, Rep Sneller, I love you for bribing me. Rep Sneller bribed me to be his best friend with Snicker bars and Reese cups, and it worked. 15 pounds lighter. I couldn't love you any more than I do now. Cheryl Kennedy, when you came to Detroit for that DPSCD tour, I knew you were the real deal. You are an educational juggernaut. Keep going. Sarah Kimbenzi, thank you for opening my eyes to the UP and the sled dog races and touring the iron mines and learning about those Stormy Cromer hats. Gotta get one of those. I love you, Howdy John Holy, because you're freakishly smart. I love you. Thank you for being a great leader on appropriations. Laura Pahusky, Lori Stone, Kevin Coleman, and Cynthia Neely for staying the course when the going got tough on the nursing home bill package. Pahusky, you rock. Be more you. Pod Makupa. There's a saying that goes, you are kept from your goal not by obstacles, but by a clear path to lesser goals. Make this experience worthy of your efforts. And thank you for everyone who worked on that nursing home bill package. Kyra Bowden and Mari Manugian, and everyone who stood up there on that steps when we had that press conference. I really appreciate you. Keep that energy up because there's much more work we need to do around nursing home reform. And then over 6 years, I've had the honor to serve with 26 different members of the Detroit Caucus. And since I know I'm going long, I'll just say we are one of a kind. In the words of Missy Elliott, our caucus is planet rockin', show stoppin', flow poppin', head rockin'. Wendell, Latanya, and Sherry, we came in together and we're leaving together. And one day I look forward to all of us, former and current Detroit representatives, getting together at a big table, having dinner with lots of food and libation like only Detroiters do. And Wendell Bird taking out his teeth and leaning back to ask us that question he always asks, am I right or am I wrong? To Cynthia A. Johnson, I am so glad coronavirus came so you can stop all that damn hugging and kissing. Just kidding, just kidding. All seriousness, I love you, I love you. We really want to hug and kiss right now. And I thank you for being such a good like auntie to my dog. To my big brothers, Ken Cole, Tyrone Sanders, Tommy Stallworth, Dr. KB Stallworth, Buzz Thomas, Burt Johnson, and Jimmy Womack. My big sisters, Monique Fields, Lisa Howes, Chanel Jackson, and Maureen Stapleton. Your wisdom, your confidence, your realness is held hallowed. Thank you. Jean Doss and that Crohn's disease thing you made me go through. And some of you, we went through together. And Julie Alexander, I'll never forget that. Thank you for giving me a day in someone else's shoes. To Melissa McKinney and this ridiculous polar plunge that raises really good money for a good cause, thank you. Bill Wartz, the Breslin brothers, Mike Hawks, Rusty Merchant, Nicole Nystrom, and Andrea, I love you all. And to Jill Scott, Aretha Franklin, the Clark sisters, Missy Elliott, Nicki Minaj, Megan Thee Stallion, Eminem, Drake, Busta Rhymes, and the cast of Hamilton for all the sing-alongs we did on the drives back and forth to Lansing. To the leaders of the Democratic Caucus, Tim Grimo, Sam Singh, and Christine Gregg, thank you for your leadership and your friendship. With all of you, particularly my bookends, Tim and Chris, y'all gave me a run for the money. And it was such a dynamic experience. But Chris, you are a dynamic woman with such passion, and I wish you all the best. To my Republican friends, and then this is it, I'm done. To my Republican friends, to Tommy Braun, I see your humanity. You're such a kind and thoughtful, beautiful being. Thank you for the contribution you made at the Jim Crow Museum at Ferris State University in my name. I love you. That touched my heart deeply, because you know how I felt when we were at that place. To Reps Photo Field, Brumstead, Canfield, Kelly, and Lavoie, my freshman year, we had such a great bipartisan squad. We had such a great raucous good time back there. Maybe that's why they came up with this seating chart or seating arrangement plan that they're doing to ensure no commiserating shall be had between the two parties. But it hasn't been the same since you guys left. It was wonderful. I cherish the camaraderie and fellowship with Tony Ferlini, Jeff Farrington, Ed McBroom, Uncle Al Pashoka, Pete Patalia, Randy Richardville, Pete McGregor, Wayne Schmidt, Tanya Shoemaker, Kathy Crawford, Brianna Colley, Lana Tice, and Holly Hughes. Did you all know Holly Hughes was a sponsor on my stripper bill package? She was so dope. She was ahead of her time. Republican ladies, get on it. Don't be scared. And then to the leading men of our chamber, Speaker Kevin Carter, the quintessential gentleman statesman, thank you for your compassion and protection. You are the James Bond type, and you set an extraordinarily high bar as my first speaker. To Tom Leonard, you were kind of like the Leonardo DiCaprio in the Wolf of Wall Street type, but not in the bad hooker Quaalude kind of way, but in the good times were really good and the bad times were really bad kind of way. I was such a naive, bright-eyed freshman when I wandered into a Republican reception and started mingling. And instead of making me feel like this wasn't a reception for me, you befriended me and you pinned me. I passed 3 bills and numerous resolutions under your leadership. Chatfield did not surpass your record. He could have, but he did not. Making you, Speaker Leonard, the most loved legislation-friendly speaker. Thank you. And to Lee Chatfield. Where you at? Oh, Speaker Chatfield. I couldn't decide if you was Bruce Willis tough type or Deadpool type. Either way, you are tough. Ooh, you are the bad guy and the good guy. And I've never had more frustration and fun with any other speaker. I'm so delighted and impressed with myself that I was able to crack the Chatfield code sometimes. We have had the most dynamic and powerful and meaningful exchanges. I appreciate our unique relationship and the mutual respect we share. Even though I had to give doctoral dissertations to get you to agree on some things, I'm glad you have the capacity and willingness to try. So many people are closed-minded and unmalleable. I'm glad to see that you can be open and willing to step way out of your comfort zone. And that was evident when you allowed the African drummers to pray. Thank you. And I closed that down, didn't I? Sorry, folks. Lastly, you all can thank me for my greatest contribution, my first contribution that I'm very proud of. I don't know about the men, but for the ladies, when you walk into that bathroom and you see those toilet seat covers, you remember that this black girl from Detroit helped protect your tush from the tinkle on the seat. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the 100th Legislature, it has been a joy, an honor, and a privilege, and that's a wrap as I exit stage left to my next gig. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Representative.